Hello, Elevation Tribe. As part of our daily learning, little daily elevation for us all, I want to share with you a beautiful Torah I was learning this morning from Rebbe Nachman. And this is so key. I mean, this teaching he's going to say now is axiomatic in all of Chassidus and in all of consciousness and in all of Chazal and all of Kabbalah. But here he just puts it right in front of us. And it's talking about what is causing the challenges in our lives and what is causing, we don't have enough money to live on and we need to increase the money and I have to work harder. Is working physically harder, is giving more hours, being away from your family more. Is that the way we make more money? God forbid we have children, with children going through challenges, children going through struggles. How much time, energy, how much do I depend on psychologists? Do I need a better school? Do I need more tutors? And we have to do all these normative things from the point of view of effort. And briut, health, why am I suffering from this sickness? God forbid, why am I suffering from this ailment? I've been to how many of you told me I've been to so many doctors and so many medicine and New Age and all this kind of stuff. Now, the Torah has an answer, which is all the way through Torah and all the way through Chazal, but so much more in Chassidus that speaks to it. And I want to just emphasize this point. It's the foundation of all the work we're doing in elevation, all in a tikkun midas, all in a self-development work. It's all founded on and literally the single point. If you want to understand the true Torah philosophy about why the challenge in our life is happening, why am I sick, God forbid, why is that family member sick, why is that person struggling, all the people that are close to us. So Rebbe Nachman in Likutei Maharan, in the first part, the main part, in Kuf Ayin Bet 172, just lays it out. Now listen very carefully to this. Kol hachesroinus sheyesh la'adam, all the lackings that a person has in their life. The fact that they call suffering and challenge lackings means, why is that? Because if Hashem is everywhere and His light is everywhere, which is really the oil of true tikkun of the times of Mashiach, when everything returns to be revealed, to be included and revealing in the infinite light. So therefore, there would be no lacking. So anything in our life, where there's suffering, where there's pain, where there's challenge, where there's struggle, that is called by definition chesroinus, because there's a lacking, because it's lacking divine revelation. I don't see the goodness in it. I don't see the tav in it. I don't see the blessing in it. I don't see the revelation in it. I don't see the sweetness in it. So, kol hachesroinus sheyesh la'adam, all the suffering and lacking that any person has in their life, hein banim, in their children and raising their children, or parnasa, or financially, their lack of abundance, the lack of income, or briut, that physical health and sickness, all of this, hakol hu mitzad ha'adam atzmai. It is all being caused, all these external elements are being caused and generated from within the person themselves, within us ourselves. A physical illness, God forbid, is being caused by our inner world itself. Lack of money is not because I need to work 1,000 times harder. I do need to work hard, but not so hard to destroy myself. It's all because of something happening within. Ki or Hashem yisbarach shafeya alav tamid. The biggest klal. Hashem's light is infinite. Hashem's light is constant. This is very interesting language here. Hashem's light is constantly pouring into us, is constantly filling us, is constantly guiding us. That's like a tap that is flowing constantly. But if there is a lacking, the lacking is coming from us. And it's why he says, we create a shadow, we conceal the light based on our midats, based on our inner world, based on our actions, based on our internal state and the way we act. That's what creates the lacking, because we create shade. Hashem is a constant light that's being revealed, and we create shade. It's very interesting in the New Age world and the psychology world, they always call it shadow work. So with Nachman here, a few hundred years ahead of his time, he's basing on Chazal and Zohar. He's calling it shadow work as well. The challenge in our life is being caused by our shadow. We're creating that shadow. And the shadow is we create of the concealment of Hashem in our lives. She'ein magia alav or Hashem yisbarach. Because of the shadow on our lives, Hashem cannot reveal His light. Hashem has infinite light, but we create a shadow. Ulefi ma'asav kein aseh hatzel hamonea or Hashem yisbarach. According to our actions, if they are not good, according to our ego, if it is not strong, according to my midat va'at, my negative desires, I create a shadow that holds back, conceals the light of Hashem in my life. And depending on the specific area of lacking, depending on the specific area of ego, specific area of anger, specific area of desire, of addiction, of negative thinking, of destructive beliefs, according to what I'm generating within, that creates a very specific shadow in my life, within children, within health, within raising my family, within money, within all the dimensions professionally and personally in my life. All the challenges are happening there is because I am creating a block, a concealment of the light of Hashem, which then causes a shadow, and itself means the shadow that of the lack of revelation of goodness somewhere in my life. Now he's going to explain, what do we do about that? How do we get rid of it? How do we physically heal ourselves? How do we, turn that situation around? He says, what is the property of how a shadow works? What creates a shadow? If you're looking at part of your life, you see there's concealment of infinite revelation. I don't see goodness in my life. He says, you are creating a shadow. And he's just going to say the obvious. If you want to know how to get rid of it, you have to understand what a shadow is. And this is what he says. So the principle he says is what creates it? What creates a shade? There's three elements here. There's the shade itself, that's called the tseil, and it's created by a source of light, which he calls the davar ruchani, the spiritual element. And then there's a davar gashmi, there's a physical object, something physical, tangible, solid, which blocks the light, and thus creating the third object, the shadow. That's pretty, it's not Kabbalistic yet to buy into that. And he's going to qualify here. It doesn't even have to be that the physical thing causing the block is 100% solid. It just has to be, relatively speaking, more solid, more thick, more dense than the light which is emanating from the first point. And he's going to say that because he's going to say our consciousness, which is not actually a solid object, and our fear and our doubt and our ego and our pain and our desires, obsession with physicality, producing the yeshus, that itself, while not being physically tangible, so to speak, is actually more physical, more mugusham, a lower, more dense vibrational frequency, I guess we'd say in the New Age kind of language, which would still cause a shadow, even though it's not a spiritual shadow, so to speak. Or a shadow concealing spiritual light, which creates a tangible challenge in our life. So he says, a tree or a stone or a rock, right, which represents the second point, the hard physical object, the light of the moon or the light of the sun, right, is the first, and then hits the dense physical matter of the rock or the stone, and it creates a shadow, the third element on the ground. Obvious. So now he adds another point, but he says you can even have that the sun and the moon itself and the earth, they can create an eclipse. That's what it means, an eclipse, al yidei ha'aretz, the earth itself can create an eclipse on the moon, concealing the sun, or we know vice versa. Now he says, so the sun, now he's showing a subtle point here, the sun is the source of light, and then the tree or the moon or something is the physical object, and then it creates a shadow somewhere. But he says, technically speaking, even though you see the sun as the source of light, technically speaking, if something was a bigger, brighter light than the sun, a massive sun in another galaxy, another cosmos somewhere, so that could, then the sun itself would no longer be a source of light compared to that greater light, and the sun itself could create a shadow. So just showing what he's doing something very subtle and beautiful. He's saying, if you want to know what's creating the shadow in your lives, it's because there's a block being generated within you, which is creating concealment of the infinite light of your soul and divinity beyond you. 3 stages, right? And he's saying, but also hold in mind, he said, if you want to understand how the cell works, because you have the light emanating, you have a concealment in a block, and then you have a shadow that results from it. And he's saying, the second level, the shadow creating element, the blocking element, works to create a shadow because it's more physical than the original, than the source of light, but it doesn't actually have to be physically tangible. It doesn't actually have to be like wood, like a stone, so to speak, right? So he's just showing that subtle distinction. That's called erechin. It has to be relative. Even though the sun is the ultimate source of light, a greater sun would cause our actual sun to be a source that would create shadow. So it's all relative. Now, if you understand what he's saying so far, Adam kefi gashmiyusa or kefi ma'asav kain oised sel ba'atzmai. So now he's saying, if you understand how a shadow works, according to our gashmius, a human being themselves can be a source of light, and a human being, every single one of them, can also be a source of concealment of the light. And that's depending on our gashmius. It's not because we have a physical body, we can be light through our physical body. We can to reveal light through our actions, through our speech, and through our thoughts. But if our thoughts are mugusham, if our thoughts become physically obsessed with reality, with ego, with pain, with suffering, with doubt, with envy, if our feelings, if our speech becomes physical, tangible, obsessive, jealousy, of hurt, of pain, of anger, revenge, of making money, of ego, of look how great I am, or our actions are self-absorbed or egotistical, right? Or the opposite, right? Then our consciousness, our being, our actions, our thoughts, and our beliefs can create shadow or reveal light in our own lives. So that's what he's saying here. We make shadows for ourselves. Because we conceal through that, through our actions, through our lower frequency consciousness, we conceal the divine light will be revealing in our life, and that specific thoughts or ego are causing specific issues in our life. And therefore he says, Aval im ha'adam mevatel atzmoi bittul hayesh, the classic idea of all of Chassidus based on all of Kabbalah, all of Chazal, all of the Torah. If a person nullifies the ego, bittul atzmoi does not mean you truly nullify yourself. It doesn't mean you actually kill yourself. It doesn't mean, God forbid, you actually say, I'm nothing. It means you nullify your ego side. You nullify your animal desires. It means you nullify your lower self. Eliminate your lower self in order to reveal and let shine your higher self, your true self, your divine self. When a person does that, and you have nothing of the world within you, nothing of the ego within you, nothing of obsession with physicality within you, you're free of the olam, then you don't cause or cast a shadow in your life. And at that moment, the light shines through you out into the world, and you see physical health, and you see blessings to your children and family. You see abundance of parnasa, of financial, and every kind of blessing, and ruchnis and gashmis, and spirituality and physicality. Are you following me here? A makabel or Hashem Yisbarach, and you receive the awe, and the light shines through you into the world, and there's no shade anymore. But ikar, so now he talks about wrapping it through, zipping it up through all this classical language of Chassidus, of Mishlei, of Tanakh, of our sages of the Bible. Hu Hashem Yisbarach hu hakavod. So the kavod of Hashem is something Rebbe Nachman talks about. Kavod means honor, means glory, right? He says that Ikar or Hashem Yisbarach, the main light and power and potency of Hashem, is co-named in the mystical language kavod. Now, kavod usually means ego, means glory. Glory is not really a word we use in the modern world, and I hate translating it as such, but it means what you give respect to, what gives gravity, what has gravity for you, what pulls you towards you, who you stand up for, who turns you, right? Kavod. So who's respect, it means to honor, who's honorable, who you give honor to. Now that's because the light of Hashem is called the honor of Hashem, it's called the revelation of Hashem. It's called the power and glory of Hashem, right? Now listen very carefully to this. Ki kol ma shabo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, say our sages, lo bo ela l'chvoidoi. Everything that Hashem creates in the world, now he's going to take this lesson and wind it through a deeper philosophical understanding of reality, of consciousness, of purpose, of our challenges and our healing. He says everything that Hashem created, he's quoting from our sages now, lo bo ela l'chvoidoi. Hashem only created for his kavod. Now, what do you do with that? For his kavod, that sounds like, imagine I said, all the things I do for my company, I only create for my honor. And if a person said that, most people would go, yeah, you probably do, right? All the billions of dollars and all the cars and all the people who work for you, it's all for your kavod, so I can have my honor, my name on the building, and people respect me. So Hashem sounds like, chas v'chalila, if we can say Keviyach, if we can say such a thing, Hashem is creating the whole world because it fills his covered. But who's Hashem improving himself to? You think Hashem feels better about himself if you out there, you say, Kol HaKavod, well done, Hashem. Hashem's like, he's getting a nice boost to his self-esteem. No. So covered really means it's a statement. Everything the world's created is covered. That means for the ultimate revelation of good. When we want to reveal ourselves, I create an organization for my covered, for my ego. That's because I want to reveal my ego self. And there's no greater value to the world if I reveal my ego self through my company, through my family, through my Facebook posts, you through your company, through your family, through Facebook. Well, if more people see more of you and you're everywhere on you, that's not making the world a better place, and it's not making you a better person, and it's probably doing the opposite, which is exactly creating shade, throwing shade and creating shade right now. But you understand, when you reveal the true Hashem in the world, then that's the covered Hashem. Then suddenly Hashem created the whole world to reveal Hashem, and because Hashem doesn't have actual ego, we do want Hashem revealed everywhere. We do want to see good and blessing and love and light and peace and joy and pleasure and the highest revelation. They are all the properties of Hashem. Therefore, we want to give him that honor. But now he's speaking in a deeper sensitive mode. What he's saying is the covered of Hashem. This is what he's saying. The covered of Hashem means the revelation of Hashem. Hashem's light and goodness is called his covered. That's one and the same. And the world was created at every opportunity, every dimension, to reveal light and goodness of Hashem. And the revealing of the light and goodness of Hashem at every dimension of the world is called revealing his covered. Now, Kamosha Kosav, like we learned from Yeshai and Tanakh, L'chavoidu b'vasiv. I created the world for my covenant. That's what Hashem says, to reveal my light everywhere. And therefore, he says, V'zeu molach chol ha'aretz kavoidoi. Now, we know from Tanakh, this famous line, you hear me talking about this light, that the whole world is full of divine revelation. Molach chol ha'aretz kavoidoi. Now, listen very careful to this beautiful spin. The whole world is divine revelation. That means, on a classical, mystical level, that everything in the world is divine, that everything in the world either reveals divine or is in a process of revealing us to divine. There's no darkness. It doesn't really matter whether Trump wins or whoever's the anti-Trump, the other Trump. But all of those will lead us to Hashem. Of course, we care about the details. Of course, we're supposed to choose what we think is right or wrong in the world. But at the end of the day, everything will ultimately reveal Hashem. Now, listen very carefully. But in a deeper, more nuanced way, we see Malach ha'aretz, that the whole world, there's an earth, which is not a revelation of Hashem, but that earth itself will be a property to reveal the revelation of Hashem. So we're just adding that extra distinction. First is everything's Hashem. Very nice. But practically speaking, we see challenge, we see suffering, and not everything's Hashem, right? Okay, so we say, okay, so everything has the potential to reveal divine revelation, to reveal Hashem in it. Malach ha'aretz kavoidai. So that's a more sensitive understanding. Malach ha'aretz kavoidai. So Rebbe Nachman now turns around and says, Hayinu imhu malach ha'aretz. Now he's going to spin it in a beautiful Hasidic way and show you all the truths of reality, all the truths of Hasidus, all the truths of self-transformation, and all the struggles we have in our lives, and everything we're trying to teach you in Avodas Hashem, right here about self-development and inner transformation and revealing Hashem in our lives, and why am I physically suffering in illness, and why is this family member got this issue, and why don't we have that financial income? He says it's hidden in this line. Malach ha'aretz kavoidai imhu malach ha'aretz. If a person is malach ha'aretz, if a person she'einu klal mezeh ha'olam, malach ha'aretz, if a person empties out the kol ha'aretz, aretz means the physical world, but it also means artius, it means the physical desires, it means the physical ego, it means the physical fear and pain and anger and resentment and bitterness and all the animal desires within us and all those beliefs that destroy us and weigh us down. If a person says that there's lo chol ha'aretz, she'einu klal mizeh ha'olam, I've got nothing in me, no ego, no yeshus of the world, azai mekabel or Hashem is v'ashu ha'kavod. So from lo chol ha'aretz, when a person takes out all the artius or the lower ego self within them, then kavoidai, then Hashem's revelation shines. That's what we're saying. And there's no shade, right? If a person is no longer the maniya, no longer the block, no longer the mechitza, no longer the wall, that the light within you can shine through to your life. You'll suddenly see every dimension of your life lighting up. You'll see the health return. It's the internal blocks within us that's causing the light to be blocked out. It's an interesting use of the word block. It's the shadow work that we have to do because we've created shadow from within. Because everything happened externally is generated within us internally. And the incredible blessing is that Hashem's light is constant. He loves you. He cares for you. Hashem's also suffering in your tsar. He also in your pain and your struggle. He also wants light for your children. He also wants light for you. He wants you to have abundance. He absolutely wants you to have abundance. And if we do that inner work of finding the inner blocks within us through our actions, through our midas, through our beliefs, and stripping them out and releasing them and healing those, then the light will flood in and the healing will flood in and every opportunity opens for us. That's what it says in Mishlei, that the Chachamim, the wise ones, will inherit covered. Will inherit covered. They will receive covered. They will receive honor. Wise people receive honor. That's what it says. But now he's going to foot the words. Now from elevation, we should see the secrets already coming here. This is very interesting. Covered chachamim yinachalu. What does it mean that the chachamim will inherit covered? So inherit means, when a person dies, they give the stuff to the next generation, but it means yinachalu also means a river, a stream. It means it flows from a higher place to a lower place. So this is talking about physical healing also as well in a very deep way. So the inheritance means that something flows from past to future, from higher to lower. It's called hishtalshelus. It flows down. Now, the covered chachamim, covered will flow down, divine revelation to chachamim. What's chachamim? Now, for one means, chacham means to wise people, number one. Two, chacham means wisdom. When a person is full of divine wisdom and not their own ego wisdom, or, the rationalizations and justifications about life, or secular nonsense that they believe to be true, political beliefs they believe to be true, aren't true, but full of divine wisdom, divine insight, then their mind becomes clear and transparent for divine revelation through them. And on a deeper level, that's ki chochma ma'ayin tamatzeh. She says the famous pasuk from Eov, ki chochma ma'ayin tamatzeh. Chochma comes without going to the depth of this pasuk. The simple explanation in our context means chochma ma'ayin. That chachma, wisdom, comes from ayin. Ayin means bittul. Now, what have we learned in elevation that chachma means? Chachma means devekus. Chachma means when I'm koyach ma, I get rid of my noise of my mind and the noise of my heart, and I'm truly open to receiving the light of Hashem, right? And then I receive that light comes into me. So that's exactly what Rebbe Nachman's talking. That the light called covered, the revelation of Hashem, which is constantly there called coven, it will flow down, it will be inherited from the upper worlds through our being into a consciousness, and that light will shine into their lives when we are in an aspect of, connected to a dimension of chachma, devekus. And that means that the right wisdom, the right knowledge in my head and my heart, which aligns to my higher truth rather than blocks the higher truth, and it means to access the light within me. Ki chachma ma'ayin tamatzeh. Chachma will come in a state of bittul. These chachamim, the people who are in a state of avodas Hashem, of chachma, of bittul, of ayin, shehem ayin zochen lekaver. They will receive revelation, they will receive light, they will receive goodness. Because they are not creating a shadow by letting their ego cut off the light within them. Ki ein lehem shum gashmis, because they've taken away their gashmias, their ego self, their animal self, and they become transparent beings, living a life which allows the light within them to shine. My friends, what he's saying is simple takeaway. I hope this is interesting. I'd like to hear comments below, questions below. If you heard this and it was interesting, write 1 or 2 words so we know you're listening and engaged. That helps us, it helps you too. What I want you to do, Shalom Kathleen, I see that you're there right now. Thank you for saying hi. I want you to meditate on this, the challenges in our life. And this is the essence of tefillah. This is the essence of prayer. You are not praying to change Hashem's mind. You are praying to change your own consciousness. And when you change your consciousness, then Hashem's shefa and blessing will change. If you don't say, Hashem, this person in my family is sick, please heal them. We realize what part can we own in their sickness? How do I transform my own consciousness? And then, of course, Hashem wants to bless them. And of course, we do ask Hashem to help in that process, to open those up. That also goes without saying. But we always look within. The inner work of prayer is a transformative work, as we've learned many times together. The inner work of physical healing, what emotion, feeling, blocks, doubt, pain, anxiety, hate, resentment towards myself, towards the world, towards, God forbid, Hashem. It happens as well. Am I carrying within me that's creating those blocks in my life? Where am I throwing shade in my life? And what is the root of that? The root cause within me, and how can I turn that back to Hashem and release it? So of course Hashem loves you, of course Hashem cares with you, and He can flood our heads and hearts and souls with light and create a life of light, of revelation, of goodness, of healing. That is the core of all our work. Where are we creating the shade? What's the tikkun we can do there, and how we can turn back to Hashem and cause His light to flood back in? That's something to consider today. Everybody please comment in the box. Give a response. I'd love to hear your questions. I will do my best to be fully present and answer them. This is Daniel Katz, over and out.